In 1952, a small Italian company built a car so aerodynamically advanced that engineers from major automakers came to study it. It was a two-seat racing machine with a body shaped almost entirely by the science of airflow. It wasn't built by Ferrari. It wasn't built by Maserati. It was built by Abarth, and it was called the 1500 Biposto. Carlo Abarth founded Abarth & C in Bologna, Italy in 1949. He was an Austrian-born engineer and racing driver with a deep passion for performance and speed. Abarth's business model was simple: take small, lightweight Fiat-based cars and transform them into racing and record-breaking machines. By 1952, Abarth was ready to build something that went far beyond modified street cars. He wanted a dedicated two-seat racing vehicle, one built from the ground up to chase speed records and prove that a small company could compete with the giants of Italian motorsport. The result was the Abarth 1500 Biposto. Biposto is an Italian word. It means two-seat, and that name described exactly what this car was built to be. To design the body, Abarth partnered with Ghia, one of Italy's most respected coach-building firms. The man who actually shaped the car was Giovanni Savanussi, an engineer and designer at Ghia who understood aerodynamics at a level that was rare for that era. The car was completed in 1952 and first shown publicly at the Turin Motor Show that same year. It immediately drew attention. The Abarth 1500 Biposto had one of the most distinctive silhouettes of any Italian car from the 1950s. Every surface on this car was shaped with airflow in mind. The body was long, low, and fully enclosed, meaning there were no exposed wheels, no open fenders, and no sharp edges to break up the flow of air around the car. This type of body design is called a streamliner, and in 1952, it was still considered a bold and forward-thinking approach. The front of the car featured a smooth, rounded nose with a small, narrow grille opening. There was no need for a large opening because the engine didn't require heavy cooling at the speeds the car was designed for. The roofline rose gently from the nose and then swept back in a long, tapered curve toward the tail. This shape reduced aerodynamic drag significantly. The tail of the car came to a near point, a feature that helped air close smoothly behind the vehicle at high speed, instead of creating turbulence. The cockpit was fully enclosed, with a curved windshield and a canopy-style roof, similar in concept to an aircraft. The body was built from aluminum, which kept the overall weight of the car as low as possible. Every design decision on this car served one purpose: going fast with as little resistance as possible. The Abarth 1500 Biposto was powered by a 1.5-liter inline four-cylinder engine. This engine was derived from the Fiat 1400, but heavily modified by Abarth's engineering team. In its record attempt configuration, the engine produced approximately 83 horsepower. That number might sound modest today, but in a car this small and this light, it was enough to push the vehicle to very impressive speeds for its time. The engine was mounted at the front of the car and drove the rear wheels, a classic front-engine, rear-wheel drive layout. The transmission was a manual unit, giving the driver direct control over gear selection. The chassis underneath the car was a tubular steel space frame, a construction method that provided strong structural rigidity while keeping weight to a minimum. The suspension was independent at the front, which helped the car maintain stability during high-speed runs. The brakes were drum brakes, the standard technology of the era, and were adequate for the controlled, closed-course environments where this car was operated. Operating the Abarth 1500 Biposto was a focused, driver-centered experience. The cockpit was tight and purpose-built. Both driver and passenger, or co-driver, sat close together in the narrow two-seat cabin. Visibility through the windshield was functional but limited, as the canopy-style roof and the low roofline reduced the driver's field of view compared to a conventional open-top race car. The driver operated the car through a manual gearbox, clutch pedal, and a conventional steering wheel. Because the car was built primarily for straight-line speed record attempts, the driving experience was more about managing power delivery and maintaining a clean line than navigating complex corners. The enclosed body kept wind buffeting away from the driver at high speed, an advantage that open cockpit race cars of the same period did not have. The low center of gravity and the aerodynamic shape of the body kept the car planted and stable during full-speed runs. The most important and unusual feature of the Abarth 1500 Biposto was its aerodynamic body design. In 1952, most race cars still had exposed wheels, open cockpits, and bodies that were shaped more by tradition than by science. Giovanni Savognazzi approached this car differently. He applied real aerodynamic engineering principles to every surface of the body, studying how air would flow over, under, and around the car at speed. The result was a drag coefficient that was exceptionally low for its time. This meant the car could reach higher top speeds from the same amount of engine power compared to a car with a conventional body. Savognazzi's approach on this car was ahead of what most manufacturers were doing in production or racing cars at that point in history. The Abarth 1500 Biposto was one of the earliest examples of a fully aerodynamically engineered competition automobile in post-war Italy. The Abarth 1500 Biposto was built to set land speed records in its displacement class. International motorsport organizations in the early 1950s recognized speed records in specific engine size categories. A 1.5-liter class car was competing against other small displacement machines, not the massive engines used in outright land speed record attempts. In that context, the combination of a lightweight aluminum body, a low-drag aerodynamic shape, and a tuned 1.5-liter engine gave the Biposto a real competitive advantage. The car performed as intended. It achieved speed records in its class, demonstrating that Abarth's engineering approach was valid and effective. For a company founded only 3 years earlier, completing a car of this technical sophistication and achieving measurable results was a significant accomplishment. The Biposto also served as a proof of concept, showing that Abarth understood not just how to tune engines, but how to build a complete racing vehicle from the ground up. The Abarth 1500 Biposto matters for several reasons. First, it demonstrated that small Italian manufacturers could produce technically advanced, purpose-built racing cars at a time when larger companies dominated motorsport. Second, the aerodynamic work done by Giovanni Savognazzi on this car was genuinely ahead of its time. His approach influenced how Italian coach builders and engineers thought about body design in the years that followed. Third, this car helped establish Abarth's reputation as a serious engineering company, not just a tuning shop. That reputation grew steadily through the 1950s and 1960s as Abarth went on to build successful competition cars and win races across Europe. Today, the Abarth 1500 Biposto is recognized as one of the most important and visually striking Italian cars of the early post-war period. It appears in museum collections and is studied by automotive historians and designers as an early landmark in the application of aerodynamic science to automobile design. The Abarth brand itself was eventually acquired by Fiat and later became part of the Stellantis group. The scorpion badge that Carlo Abarth chose as his logo is still used on performance variants of Fiat vehicles today. But none of those later cars carried the level of pure, focused engineering ambition that the 1500 Biposto represented. The Abarth 1500 Biposto was one car built once in 1952. It was shaped by aerodynamic science before most manufacturers were paying serious attention to it. It proved what a small, focused team could do with a limited budget, a clear goal, and a willingness to think beyond convention. That is why it still matters today. If you want to see more in-depth coverage of rare and historically important vehicles like this one, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload.